Well, Trump may never learn. He comes out last night with his speech in Phoenix and says, basically reads off the words he used the day of Charlottesville. 2 days later, another statement, all of it, basically supporting the point that he did most certainly condemn racism and racist violence. But it isn't going to do any good because the banner under CNN and MSNBC was Donald Trump leaves out the on both sides, violence on both sides statement. So what maybe there's a few people out there that watch that speech that have open minds, but certainly the people out front protesting certainly didn't. And they waited until the end of the rally, and then they started throwing rocks and bottles at the police. They'd already been chanting, the police are the same as the KKK, and those are the same ones that were in Charlottesville protesting the rally in Charlottesville that included those racist groups. So you've got the same groups that they're supporting at the Charlottesville rally as honorable, Americans, throwing rocks and bottles at the police that are just there to try to keep order, and saying that the police are the same as the KKK. I don't support either one of them. I'm with Mark Levin. I don't support either one of them. I think they're all to blame. 100%. No equivalency at all. They're both to blame 100%. The civil society, civil discourse is lost on these people because they don't have an argument that will win. Right? And they know it. They've got an argument that can rile up people like themselves, and they sit around in their circle jerks and they talk to each other and support one another on their opinions. And, there's 310 million of us out here that are looking at the whole thing like, I got a cramp, like they're a bunch of idiots. Saying the police are the same as the KKK and throwing bottles and rocks, forcing the police to use tear gas, pepper spray to disperse the mob. That's not trying to win an argument. That's terrorizing the population in an effort to shut them up. I'm glad Donald Trump went to the rally. I'm glad that he brought up again the things that they're succeeding at. I'm glad that he brought up again the truth of what he said about Charlottesville. I don't know that it's going to do any good because the avenues of expression, the papers and magazines and the news shows and television, they're not going to present it in a positive fashion. They're going to present it in a negative light in every instance. The problem with that is the press has a lower opinion rating than Congress. And one of the reasons why is because 3/4 of the United States can look at the coverage, and if they compare what they heard at the speech with what comes out in the coverage, they don't equate. The KKK, I'm going to say it ain't going to help any. The KKK was an organization begun by Democrats, run by Democrats, supported by Democrats, up until they decided to distance themselves from that because to become elected with their stupid ideas, they had to have minorities and other people believing that they were on their side. Up until 64 and into the 70s, it was Democrats who were trying to stop the desegregation and equal rights for African Americans. That's a pretty short period of time to go from trying to stop equal rights for African Americans to being the champions of African Americans here in the year 2017. If you're not going to make any sense, well, now Antifa, right? You've got the KKK and National Socialists. That's a left. That's a left idea. That's the left's idea, socialism. National Socialism. A lot of what Hitler did were built on progressive Democrat ideas from the early part of this last century. So, like they said on the radio, what you have is you have left-created groups fighting Antifa and Black Lives Matter, which are supported by the left and progressives and Democrats. And you have the anarchists and the socialists and the communists coming out who hate the United States, hate the American Constitution, and yet they're supported by the progressives and the left saying, well, we have to give them equal voice because that's part of what being America means, freedom of speech. But if you come out with a conservative idea, like closing the border and border protection and the rest, you're an evil bastard and we should all quit listening to you. And to hell with your First Amendment rights. And then you've got Antifa and these other groups causing violence and destruction to make the community afraid to have other voices come into their community because they're afraid these radicals, these violent radicals, will come into their community and destroy it. Now, like I said, it's a matter of not having an argument that will win. So you have to try to force others to stop talking so that you're the only voice that can be listened to. Trump says we need border security, and I'll shut down the government if necessary to get the border wall started. Well, the main purpose of a federal government is the security of these United States and the citizens and our borders. So if they're not fulfilling that obligation, why should we fund the rest of what they want to do?